My name is Tyler David, and you're watching Field of Dreams on ACTN.
Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. And I have with me today special people, viewers. We just came out of an election a couple months ago, and now the TTFA is on stream and they're promoting and running. Let me introduce who I have with me before we begin. To my left, I've got my co-host, Narada Wilson. Welcome to the set, Narada.
Always a pleasure to be here, Steve. It's good to be back and going forward with this new program for the new year. Happy New Year to everyone as well.
And I have my good old friend, Keith Lucloy, who is the chairman of the technical committee.
Correct.
Welcome to the set.
As ever, thank you very much, guys. Happy to be here. Happy New Year. And let's go forward.
I like the smile on your face. That means you're happy. Yeah. I am happy too because I've got a smile on my face as well.
Good.
So I am so optimistic and anxious to see where we go from here. And so far, what I've read and what I've heard, I just like what's going on. I didn't congratulate you as well. Congratulations for you guys on winning the election. And I also, want to say you guys didn't leave no stone unturned when you were vying for this election. And I thought you guys did an excellent job getting it.
Well, thank you very much. Just to look back at that, thank you very much. We thought that we were going to win it. We prepared properly. We thought that we had the support. As it turns out, we did. And now we're happy to leave that behind and to move on to the horizon.
Right, and that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about all the technical stuff. Like you said before, we want to bring football on the field. We don't want to be playing this off the field, and we want to put the things to make us successful. Right?
Correct.
So I'll let you give us a rundown on some of the things that you've met, or you didn't meet, and so on.
Well, I mean, that is a starting point. Thank you very much again for the opportunity. The last 4 years, the focus within the TTFA and Trinidad and Tobago football hasn't been so much on the field. At times, it would be on the field when we had a national team match or what have you. But generally, the focus has been on developments off the field and not good developments. Now we're happy to return the focus to football, which is what it is supposed to be all about. We come into office in against a background. There's a context to that, which is one of financial debt, massive debt. Our estimate, which we're still trying to put a fine point on, is that it is something in the order of 50 to 60 million, probably closer to $60 million that the TTFA is in debt. We found that structures had collapsed, national team structures, the structures for elite football, grassroots football, women's football, structures had collapsed. Even the administration in the T&T FA office had collapsed. I mean, it was absolute chaos, and nature abhors a vacuum. So when there is no structure, then whatever happens and whatever fills the gap. So we effectively are not starting from zero or from scratch. We're starting from minus. But again, we are very quickly, taking the bull by the horns. We have set a number of programs and actions in train, certainly on the technical side. All of the legal matters have gone off to the legal people. We have brought in a new legal counsel, senior counsel Ravi Rajkumar is now our counsel, and he is handling the legal matters. We trying to set order into the very office of the T&T FA. What personnel do we have? What personnel do we need? What are the roles and functions we need to have people fulfill and serve to make it an efficient, a modern office? We are even going so far as to physically remodel the office, right? Because what we had there before did not speak well of a national association. And we, on my side, the technical side, we have agreed. In fact, for the general administration of the T&T FA, we have agreed that we, in the effort to create a modern, progressive, efficient football structure, national association, we have introduced a new administrative structure, which is we have the technical department. Right. We have a national teams department, which is responsible for managing the affairs of the national teams, logistics, transportation, air travel, ground travel, visa issues, water for the teams, everything, right? The administration of the teams, which is headed by a director. We have a women's football department, which speaks for itself, that is going to attend to the affairs of women's football. There was recently, last week, or just recently concluded a couple of days ago, there was, for example, a women's, a course run by the Wolf, the Women's League, in which there were 3 female coaches or participants. This is a course run by the Women's League. So therefore, immediately, just to give an example of what the role of the women's football department would be, it would be the role of that director to promote female coaching for women's football. Mm-hmm. That would be a prime responsibility of the director of that department. And then we have a 4th department, which would be for club licensing and compliance. We know the issues we have had with that. Trinidad and Tobago now has not participated in CONCACAF club football for 2 seasons, 2 years, because the licensing regime completely fell apart. In fact, it disappeared. So we're going to introduce that. This year, we're introducing a new league. And before we can kick a ball in that league, the clubs have to be licensed. The clubs have to be compliant under TTFA regulations. So that is a massive job. And in fact, club licensing and compliance, we could come back to it, now goes beyond the first 2 tiers, what used to be, and I'll use that term, Pro League and Super League. It now descends into the regions, into the zones. In other words, any club that wants to play football under the umbrella of the TTFA must be licensed and compliant. That's a huge task. Yeah, we're talking about over 100 clubs. We need specialized people, full-time basis, a department to handle all of that. So we have set up this administrative structure, and within the all of this is under the guidance and supervision of the technical committee, which I head, and reporting in. One of the important things we're doing now for all of this is that for the last 4 years, and beyond that, in fact, there's been a complete lack of accountability. Nobody had to report. No coach had to submit a plan. Nobody had to account for the tenure. And all of that now is out of the window. We have the women's under 20 and 17 teams training. I have the plan of the coach. At the end of this month, January, they're going to have to give me a monthly report. At the end of the tournament, they're going to have to give a tournament report. And therefore, we introduce accountability into the system. So there's a lot of details in there. I can't speak about all now. This is just the general view of what is happening. The technical program is going forward. The administrative program is going forward. And we're very optimistic, very optimistic.
So we form a lot of committees, right? And those committees that we form is just the 4 that you talked about, or there's other subcommittees?
Well, we have formed for the first time in the, I believe, and I've been around a long time, as you both know, for the first time we have formed a medical committee to fulfill the requirements of FIFA, to give guidance on practical matters such as what are the latest banned substances to help us conduct testing on players, to promote education about physical training, strength and conditioning, and so on, etc., among the general population of the T&T FA, to nominate doctors and physios and trainers to work with teams. So we have done that. We have just formed that. They will get up and running in that. Dr. Ober Gulston is involved in that. Terence Babwa is involved in that, and a number of important people in our sport. We've done that. We formed a legal committee, which never functioned. I do believe this is the first time again. It's called for in the Constitution. It never was populated by the last administration. We have formed that. What is the role of the legal committee? To give legal advice to the TTFA, not to do legal work for the TTFA, not to handle cases for the TTFA, but to give advice on how we should proceed with legal matters, and if we should proceed with legal matters. We have formed that. We're going to revive the Audit and Compliance Committee, which was populated but never functioned. And we have formed a Finance Committee. In fact, I could tell you that within the next couple of days, the Finance Committee, having organized itself internally, having discussed and established what kind of financial management parameters they want to introduce into the TTFA, the next move is to come into the office and sit with the finance people, the people who manage on a daily basis the finances of the TTFA. So we don't find ourselves in a situation where, for example, and I'll say it, when we got into office, we found in almost three dozen bounce checks. Checks that had been issued by the T&T FA that came back because the bank couldn't service the checks, right? This is just one detail. I don't want to go into all, but we have set in place a finance committee so that the financial affairs of the TTFA are run in a modern, transparent, and accountable manner. Yes. So, and this is not just something in theory. This is about the running of football. In the League of Champions that John Williams and Selby Brown established, and I don't want to go back there too much, but clubs will issue checks, and at least 2 that I know of couldn't be honored by the bank. So this is not just about financial regulations. This is about football. This is about football on the pitch. Yes. So we have done all of that, and step by step, the administration has been in place. Going on 2 months now? Correct. But a lot of progress has been made.
Before I give Narada a chance to ask you or make a comment, I want to ask you this. Do you guys consider geographically, when you adding people to your committees or you're bringing people in, because to me, in the past, everything is done north to central, and we suffer down in the south. And so I'm looking at some of your committees right now, and I'm saying, maybe you guys might be falling into the same. And so get it spread out over this whole country so we can have football in this country.
Absolutely. Your point is well made, and your point is well taken. Football belongs to all of us. Yeah. By the same token, we're also looking for expertise wherever the expertise originates. Right. But I hear you. So depending on the nature of the committee or the nature of the project, then we absolutely must look to, have a distribution of participation across the board, across the country. The one area that I always insist on us having where it is at all practical that must be represented is Tobago. As president of the T&T Super League, I've always insisted from day one when I took office in what it seems like an eon ago, 2017, that we had to have geographical representation beginning with Tobago. So in the T&T SL board, we have people from South, Tobago, East, Central. So I get your point. Absolutely. Also on the technical side, one of the things we're doing is we're setting up what we call a talent identification program. We have asked each regional association and the Women's League, no other league, but the Women's League has also been asked to give us a panel of talent scouts so that the South will have its panel of scouts, the North, etc., because we have to distribute resources and we have to distribute opportunity for coaches, players at every level as equitably as we can across the country. I won't say equally, because in some areas you have more football than in others. You have more people involved in the game than in others. But we have to be transparent and equitable in what we do. So rest assured, your point is absolutely well made and taken.
Okay.
For me, some of the committees that you all have formed, you went into saying you're reaching the communities regionally, but you've also formed committees recently that even reach as far as internationally, but in terms of identifying players. And one thing I would like to commend the organization on is making this information public, but in a very timely fashion, because most of the times I'm seeing it could be 10 p.m., it could be 6 a.m., the information is coming out once the decisions are made. And I always think that it's up to the organization to sometimes beat the media, the traditional media, in getting your information out, because then you're first and we have the right information.
Narada, you're making an essential point. One of the huge problems, one of the reasons why we were able to win, listen, it is always difficult to remove an incumbent if the incumbent is operating properly. It's hard to move somebody who's in government, right? One of the reasons why we were able to remove the last administration is because they were not transparent. They didn't level with people. They didn't inform people about what was being done, why they were doing it, etc. So to crystallize the point, the example that you give about the what we call in the TTFA North America Talent Identification and Player Pool Program, TIP, right? We have, the objective of this program is to find second generation Trinidadians and Tobagonians, right? In other words, those born in the United States and in Canada, North America, to make that talent available to our selectors. It is not by coincidence, but by some coincidence that the two directors, I'll come back to your point, Steve, we have two directors, national directors for this program, who live in the United States. One is for the men's side, one is for the women's side. On the men's side, we have Sean Powder. He's from Tobago. Yes? His sons are making their own careers within the American system. They have represented Trinidad and Tobago. And we have Justin Reed. He's a second generation Trinidadian. He was born in the United States. Yes? We consider all of them Trinbagonians. Yes? Because, and I'll get back to your point about transparency and the timeliness of it. We have 350,000 Trinbagonians living, born here in Trinidad and Tobago, living in North America. If you just loosely figure that on average, if they give birth to 2 kids, yeah, we doubling and tripling our population and therefore our player pool, and we have to access it.
Let me ask you to stop right here, and I'll take a break, and then you pick it up when you come back.
Very good.
Viewers, we'll be right back.
What we need to do is to set up a system where we could almost scientifically troll the United States and troll the United Kingdom for talent to add to what we have here. Now, it is also incumbent on us
we, from those encounters together, and this was a North-South game to open the season.
So the team might be playing well, as we always say with Trinidad and Tobago.
Futsal did that great for me.
Okay, hey everybody. Welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David. I'm your host. Okay, viewers, welcome back. Yeah, Keith. So we were saying. Yeah.
So I was making this point, and I haven't forgotten Narada's original point. So we have set up this program. We have directors. We have broken up North America into 4 regions: Canada and the United States, covering the entirety of North America, the entire continent. And we are appointing coordinators and coaches into each region. And we find in players. We'll get back to that. But the point is this. What we are doing all along the way, we are making available to the public. I can tell you, public, if you want official information from and about what is happening within the TTFA, go to the TTFA website, go to the TTFA Facebook page. These are our platforms for providing official information to the TTFA. Because Lukloy, Wallace, Sam Phillip, whoever may give, Ramesh Ramdan may give an interview, and what he says and perhaps what comes over is not necessarily quite the same thing. So if you want official information, go to TTFA Media. Actually, we're in the process right now, which should be done in a couple of weeks, of reconfiguring the entire website, making it more interactive, making it more available to the public, providing more information on referees, technical, this, that, finance, da. There's no reason why the T&T FA budget and account, audited accounts shouldn't be on the TTFA website. That's transparency. So that's the direction we're heading in. And this is Narada's point, right? If we have a meeting and important decisions are made, then immediately Sean Fuentes is outside of the meeting room. We draft a release and we put it out there. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning, and let people go and find the official information there. What the media do with it, well, that's up to them. And if there are any questions, people know how to get us.
And viewers, don't forget, Keith is the chairman of the technical committee, so we're discussing technicals of on-the-field stuff, not the whole TTFA, what Wallace will have to discuss, all right? So, Keith, having said that, why are we so focused on the U.S.? Again, I mean, I made a living in the U.S. playing football, and we teach them to play the game.
Yes.
And we still teach the younger ones, while some of us who are still there, to play. But why are we so focused on there when we have players, we have English in England, we have Trinidadians everywhere in this world?
That's right. And this is why I like to come in this show. Because I'm talking to football people who understand football, right, past, present, and how it could go forward into the future. And I ain't just saying that. I mean that. I like to come on this show for that reason. Last week, I had a conversation with Gavin Lewis. Gavin Lewis he was born here. He was born in Britain, came here to live in Trinidad for several years, went back to the United States, played professionally in the United Kingdom, I beg your pardon, played professionally there, represented Trinidad and Tobago, and is now working in Derby County Football Club. I had a conversation with him 7 days ago, no more than 10 days ago. What we are doing have already set up in the United States, he is going to help us set up in the United Kingdom. The general idea remains the same. Divide the United Kingdom into regions, appoint a coordinator for each, have a couple national directors, get some scouts into each region, people who have contacts with the clubs at different levels, Premier League, Championship, etc., and let's start finding these young men and women and established players as well. Correct. We have a player in Crystal Palace, I won't name the player, who is a starter in Crystal Palace, who has Trinidad and Tobago roots. Fenwick is on to him, we want to get him to play. That's one example. But we also have found 2 brothers, one with a Premier League club that I cannot remember, and one with Arsenal. One is 15, one is 17, Trinidad and Tobago parents. Yes? But what we need to do is to set up a system where we could almost scientifically troll the United States and troll the United Kingdom for talent to add to what we have here. Now, it is also incumbent on us to make sure that we develop the trolling system, which is the screening I just talked about earlier, the different panels, so that we could find this talent and begin to distill it from grassroots up through the pyramid, so that our player pool is now what? Not just Trinidad and Tobago, but it is Trinidad and Tobago times North America times the United Kingdom. Then we're talking about a Trinidad and Tobago population of 3 million people or 4 million people, with an increase in the player pool that is commensurate with that.
You brought up Fenwick's name, and I am glad you did because I almost forgot. That selection to me was the icing on the cake for your committee. I always said, whatever they had with Fenwick, they got to put it behind the back because he is like a local foreign coach. He's in England. He played first division football. He coached. He came here. He knows everybody. He knows more players than I do, and I'm Trinidadian. So I thought that selection was great. And now what you just explained, he's going to also help us with the British side of this.
Absolutely. He has his own contacts. He played 20 times for England. He's an established player, personality in England football still after all these years.
Right.
Does media work there. So he has his own links and contacts. This is separate and apart from any structure that we established. So it's all good. Yeah. Fenwick, in the run-up to the election, I was clear in my own mind that if we won, we needed to introduce Fenwick. There was no doubt in my mind about that. And I was convinced about my position by the fact that a large percentage, I might even dare say an overwhelming percentage of the population, surely the football people who follow football, were in support of that. I would go everywhere. I went prior to the election, and people would be saying, I hope you're bringing Fenwick, right? So that consolidated the idea in my mind. So when we came in and we had to have that discussion, two things were clear. One, that Lawrence had to go, and secondly, that Fenwick had to come. Now, having said that, Fenwick, in my mind, I was sure about that, not because Fenwick is my friend. Fenwick is as difficult as look like. And I say that, right, because he has a strong personality, he knows what he wants to get, and there's nothing wrong with that. I am like that. So what has to happen is that everyone has to be mature enough to work together. I know Fenwick. I've worked with him before. I'm prepared to work with him again. He will not always get what he wants. I cannot always get what I want. It's called life.
Right.
It's called life.
Right.
And we have to work together, and where we need to compromise to move the project forward, then that is what we do.
I would add to it and just say, I think the organization took a position that it was the right timing for someone like Mr. Fenwick to be appointed as the coach, simply because the players that we have right now on the team, he's probably been in the lives of maybe 70% of them. The fact that he's been here for some time, and I think he has something to prove because of the amount of times he's been looked over. So it feeds well to the administration, because now you have someone, regardless of if you're in favor or not, who you're putting, because you're saying, well, listen, we think you're good for the job. You know what it entails, and now he has something to prove. Absolutely. So I think he actually works for you because he wants to prove himself. And I think that is commendable on the administration, and we hope to see the results sooner or later. My question would be, in assuming a task like this, because it is a task that you're now technically responsible for where the direction of all football on a national level goes, why did you see this as the time to put yourself forward? You've taken it at the highest level from FIFA. You then went to the Super League and building from let's say a community level, and now to a national level. Because it's now, you're assuming a responsibility that if in the next 5 years things don't go a particular way, from a football perspective, It Lokloy will be the name we will call.
My name will call. Well, my name is always called. My name has always been called from the time I was a boy. I suppose by virtue of my personality, I have a strong will, and I believe in what I believe in, and I will always fight for it. I've always been like that, and Some people like that, some don't. But that kind of mentality pushes you, I suppose, to the fore. A lot of people, if I could just go a little bit back into the past, a lot of people were expecting that I would run for president.
Sure.
I made it clear about, I don't know, a year and a half prior to the election that I had no interest in doing that.
Even here as well.
That's right, I did it here.
Yes.
Thank you for reminding me, the viewers, I did it here. Some people thought that was a tactical ploy, that in the end he will run. No, I didn't think that it was suitable for me to run. Quite frankly, I think that my candidacy would have been controversial. Some people would have supported, some not. It would have challenged the opportunity to remove the last administration. And I took a conscious decision that I wouldn't run and would support people who I think could win. Because the project, in my mind, is not about Lukloy. The project is about football.
Correct.
Right.
And moving our football forward. To your question, I have been involved in football my whole life. I've said that here before. My entire life. I'll be 67 in April, God willing. And I have been in football my entire life. I've played football in the grassroots. I've played football in the colleges league as it was then, Steve. I've played football at national team level for Trinidad and Tobago. I've coached at national team level and club level.
Right.
Up to today, I coach 12-year-olds and 10-year-olds in my club because I like to coach. I love to coach. I've been an administrator all the way from T&T FA through CONCACAF into FIFA. Right? This is my last spin on the merry-go-round. I said it before the election and I'm saying it now. When I went into the Super League as the president in 2017, I told them one term.
Correct.
And now I'm in here with this new administration as chairman of the technical committee, one term. This is my last spin on the merry-go-round. I'm going to give it everything I have, right? And then after that, it's it. That's it. As I like to tell everybody, I like to be the oldest one in the room. I love to be the oldest one in the room, meaning what we need is to bring some young blood in. Give young people the tools that they need, give them the terms of reference, give them the role and responsibilities, and give them the freedom to work and hold them accountable. That's how I run my club, right? I have many teams in my club. I don't tell me on the 12 coach who to pick. Because I coach them and so on, but I have somebody working there. When they go to a match, they go with the under 12. I don't tell my under 12 coach who to pick. Go do your thing, but I hold you accountable. So that is how I see my role, to push the football project, football on the pitch, to get things in place, going, the coaching, education, and so on and so forth. There will be people, a technical director, a director of women's football, etc., etc. They have to do the work.
The work of it, yeah.
I and my committee have to hold them accountable and responsible, and to give advice and to ask questions and so on and so forth, because ultimately we are the ones who have to drag the thing forward.
When you guys won, I says, my guess was Keith is going to be the secretary, because I felt like that fit you, because the secretary to me drives the whole thing. And then you chose chairman of the technical committee, which I think is even better. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. What brings that?
Well, I'll tell you, we live in the real world. We live in Trinidad and Tobago. People like to talk. People like to think they know what you are thinking. Right. And there were people who were saying, okay. When the slates were declared, okay. He's not going to run for president. That means he wants to be technical director so he can make money.
Yeah, that was not the money part, but the thought was.
He's looking for money.
People said that, right?
People said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? But you see, look like stupid. I stupid. My whole life, I have never been motivated by money.
Right.
I have been motivated by what is the project. Yes?
All right.
I have always been, my whole life, motivated by what is the project. And the most influential position in moving our football forward in this current scenario, and probably in any scenario, is being in charge of a truly functional and visionary technical committee. I work my whole life. I have a pension. If they're big, I ain't rich.
Right.
So I want to devote one term to trying to get football on the correct rails to move it forward.
I would ask one question quickly. And I saw it somewhere recently. Because you're saying responsible for football, which is obviously a game bigger than all of us, the one term, what is the ultimate goal? I saw something that said getting us back to the top of the Caribbean.
Yes.
What is Keith Lecloy personally, as well as even if the administration, the goal from the technical aspect you want to be is almost like I am responsible for the project of putting Trinidad where realistically in the term.
If we want to quantify it, and if we want to look at it in terms of quality and marry the two, I am saying that within the life of this administration, which is late 19 to late 23, to 20 to 21 to 22 to 23, 4 years, Trinidad and Tobago, the TTFA, Trinidad and Tobago people have to reappear at the World Cup level. I'm talking about under 17 men and women, under 20 men and women. I'm talking about men and women senior. I'm talking about women's Olympics. We have to, our flag has to be flown again in a World Cup stadium. I'm not saying in all, I'm not foolish, but we have to re-emerge. Our flag has to re-emerge in a World Cup stadium within the life of this administration. And beyond that, because we lay a foundation now, we are also introducing what we call Project 2026.
Correct.
What is Project 2026? The last administration virtually abandoned those boys who were to compete for a place in the 2020. This year, the Olympics.
The Olympics,
right? We also have an under-20 team that will be competing in June for a place in the next under-20 World Cup next year, 2021.
Correct.
Those boys, the last under-20 team and the current under-20 team will be 25 to 27 years old in 2026.
Prime.
2026, Steve, Narada, public, is the World Cup that will be held in North America, the first 48-team World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine Trinidad and Tobago? CONCACAF will have 6 places.
Correct.
Could you imagine Trinidad and Tobago participating in the North American World Cup where we play, it's going to be a sea of red? Those 700,000 North Americans or people living in North America that have Trinidad and Tobago ties going to be coming like the Mexicans do now. Because when Mexico plays in North America, no matter where they're home, we have to be at home in North America, no matter where we play in 2026. That foundation we lay from today.
What I would like to see for you is, which I think is going to happen, is for me to grade you A+, a structure that's in place, that has the train running in the right direction, and if you wanted to hop off, you'd hop off. I'll be happy with that. Viewers will be right back after the short break.
I'm saying that that's what we need to have in football. We have a general policy, we have a line of approach. A new person comes in, they might edit and adapt, but we know where we want to go and how we get in there.
We, from those encounters together, and this was a North-South game to open the season.
So the team might be playing well, as we always say with Trinidad and Tobago.
Futsal did that great for me.
Okay, hey everybody. Welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David. I'm your host. Okay, welcome back, viewers. Yeah, Keith, like I was saying, I thought if, and which I think you will do, get this train structurally on track, going in the right direction, and even though we don't make it, at least we heading in that direction.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have other things that...
Well, just to finish off on the Project 2020 team, that team, I don't want to call it a B team, I prefer to call it a youth team. right? Or an under 23 team, or whatever name you want to give it, not B. B implies some kind of inferior status to A. But this is a team that has its eyes not on qualifying for the 2021 Gold Cup, not for qualifying for the 2022 World Cup, but qualifying for the 2026 World Cup. That is their objective. And we give them, they have way stations along the way. In 2021, we have CAC games. In 2022, we have, what do you call it, Pan American games. So they have their own tournaments to play heading towards 2026. So there's that. But how do we promote the quality of player internally in Trinidad and Tobago? We're talking about, in large part, we're talking about the quality of coaching. One of the things that we establishing, we underway with it, is what we call the TTFA Academy.
Right.
The TTFA Academy will be responsible for educating, training a variety of football personnel, not only coaches, physios, trainers, club managers, etc., etc. Yes, strength and conditioning people, etc. We already have an education committee that is in place where that is concerned. We have people from the University of the West Indies. Maybe hopefully we can get UTT into that as well. We have people from Civilian Conservation Corps, the director there, David Benjamin, and MILAT, the MILAT program. Anton Cornell has agreed to participate in that. He's a FIFA instructor, has a wealth of experience. What is going to be their job? To fashion the curriculum of the academy, what kind of courses we want, who's going to teach them, what's the syllabus. That's not my work. That reports to me and the committee, technical committee. Yes, we supervising all of this so that we have the capacity to train our own people to go out there into football land and educate the people who will give us our national teams, meaning the coaches and the players. Yeah, so this is how we are attacking it. We're not only looking at national teams and picking players. We have to educate every succeeding generation of national team players here and go outside and find more.
So in 26, which is the one that we supposed to, or you will want to make sure that we qualify for, based on what you just said, you would be already off the train.
That's right.
So you just want to leave the train and head into that direction.
That is correct. I would like to see that within my tenure and certainly the tenure of this administration, that we lay a proper foundation. That if a new administration comes in, and I repeat, it's difficult to remove an incumbent. If this administration does its work well, it's difficult to remove somebody who is working well, right? But in any event, if someone else comes in and they look to not edit and amend and adapt,
keep it running,
right? But if they look to destroy and remove, then the entire public is going to say, hey, you know, and football people are going to say, hey, come on, you know, this thing, regardless of whether we like Lucloy, Wallace or whoever, this thing been working. We have gone back to an under-20 World Cup. We have gone back to an under-17 World Cup. We have won an under-15 CONCACAF championship. The thing working, what are you messing with it for? Right? So I'm talking about structure. Listen. President come, president go in the United States. The ship sails on, you know. United States has, as a country, has policy. We could like the policy, we could don't like the policy, but they have policy. New people come in, they make changes, they edit it, they make amendments and so on, but the general policy of the United States goes forward. I'm saying that that's what we need to have in football. We have a general policy, we have a line of approach. A new person comes in, they might edit and adapt, but we know where we want to go and how we get in there. Otherwise, it's chop, change, chop, change. I don't like him, so move what he did. I don't like that one, so change that. And that leads us in a descending circle.
Field of Dreams has a facility in Point Fortin that is going to open on February 2nd, grand opening. And we're going to concentrate on developing the women footballers in Point area. So we're letting you know that as well. And I'm sure you guys we haven't talked about the women's program, but on this now, I want us to switch a little bit onto, because we will be kind of like the home of football, but I don't like that name, home of football, but it's our facility.
Yes.
And I want us to discuss also the home of football that you guys come in contact with,
Well,
and what's going on there?
the good part first, February 2nd, you say?
February 2nd.
I will be there.
Good.
Right? Yeah. And I'm quite sure other TTFA, I'm speaking for myself now, but I'm sure when the invitation goes into the office, other people from the TTFA administration will be there. Women's football. I mean, you know the saying, and it's not just a cliche, the future of football is feminine. Now, that is a marketing hook.
Correct.
Yes, you know, like the Enterprise in Star Wars, we need to go where no man has dared before, or no person or no woman has dared before. There's a whole vast market available there for us to tap into. Right. So that is why we're introducing a women's football department with a women's football director. Somebody who wakes up, people who wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night thinking about how to promote and develop women's football. Yes? And the teams within it, more women's coaches, more women's players, more facilities for female players, and so on and so forth. So I'm happy to hear about this. Because we need hubs. We already know that we can't go about developing the women's game like we develop the men's game. A boy wakes up in the morning, he goes into school, he goes into savannah, he kicks some ball and he comes back home. Right. Girls don't do that. We need to create hubs that we bring them into. And when the boy comes in, because he learned to play football already and we're trying to refine, that girl we have to teach how to play football. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Right. So I'm happy to hear about this. We will talk about it. Right. Home of football, the home of football is closed currently. We don't know when it will be opened. We have to bring in structural engineers to look at it and give us a report, which we have to give to the Ministry of Sport, which we have to give to FIFA. It is in debt. Although the budget was exhausted, it is in debt. As far as we know, it is already $1.5 million in debt. Work was done, money is not paid to suppliers of steel and so on and so forth, right? No approvals were given for us to occupy it. I mean, right now, we have the under 17 and 20 women's teams training. We're putting them into camps, and we have to pay people to house and feed them when we should really be putting them in the home of football. Right. We can't, because we can't occupy it. It's illegal to occupy it. It is unsafe to occupy. The home of football doesn't have one fire hydrant.
Right.
Yes? So we have to address that. I am insistent, and we are insistent, that what happened with, and maybe I'm talking politics, but the parallel is there, what happened with the Cuba Children's Hospital, it was opened and has never been opened for use by the public. We are insistent that is not going to happen. This administration will not inherit the home of football and never open it. We are going to open it because it has a role to play, and we always said our problem is not the home of football. Our problem was the lack of transparency and people not knowing what was going on in the home of football. Right. That was our issue. So we have to finish it, complete it, get it up to scratch, and then make it available to the football community. Because even the design, we have a home of football, there's no gym, there's no audio-visual room, there's no place for a library, there's no conference room. It's a hotel. That's it. That's it. You can't have a meeting in the home of football, frankly, because the design was poor. So what are we going to have to do? Knock down some walls to make a conference room? What do we have to do? We're going to get it done.
Right. I thought about that as well, because the AGM was outside. It was hot. It was, I look at places from, I mean, I don't want to beat it up, but
I forget that, Steve, you were at the AGM. That's correct.
There was so much stuff that I see from a safety standpoint, because that's my background, that I just had to hush my mouth. But I don't want to beat up the home of football, but you guys are going to make that right?
Yes, correct. Right. We have to. We have spent $20 million on it. We can't leave it for the spiders. Right. Yeah.
Or the pigeons.
Or for the pigeons.
A lot of places for pigeons to go.
So we have to get it up and running, because this is where, when we want to have a camp, we put our teams. Right. It has to serve football. Yes.
And I think, just to add to it, as you said, the name says home of football, and I think any football organization, whatever you have going on, the first thought should be to have it there. And if you can't have it there, then it says something. Right. So if something is missing, I think you all have to, any meetings, as you said, if you think of housing anyone, that should always be the first place. So it should incorporate all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any future implementation from a technical, from your standpoint as the chairman of the technical committee, any future things that is on the back burner?
Yes, and not so far on the back burner. One of the things I'm doing right now, I myself, I'm refining a proposal I made to the TTFF in 2007 for the implementation of what I then called the Center for Excellence program, which is regional centers into which we bring the kids, male and female, under 13, under 15, 17, this and that, which we staff properly with a manager and a physio and, you know, an equipment manager, coaches, goalkeeper coaching, etc., all of that. I brought that back out of my memory, one of my memory sticks.
Right.
I'm refining it. I'm in a position again where now I could try to seriously push this forward. I'm going to put that proposal before the technical committee and then take it to the board with a budget, etc., so that in each center we're going to have a training, in each zone we're going to have a training center for kids that we trawl, I like to use the word,
right,
throughout the South. We bring them into the training, so that's grassroots. We bring them into the training center. We apply to them an approved and agreed syllabus, right? A standard syllabus that's applied across the country. And out of that, we pick our national teams, and then they try to fight for the place in the sun in the top national team, the men. So that is one of the things that I'm working on right now that we'll be seeing hopefully in the not too distant future. We have to finance it.
Right.
We have to finance it. But I should say this: we have people in this country and corporations in this country that could bring serious money to bear on what the new TTFA is trying to do, that are coming around saying that they want to support.
And we get in. We have potential for good support because I think. Because of our transparency and so on, right?
That's right. People want to know where their money is going.
Right.
And they had been holding off because they didn't want to put their money into, if I could call it that TTFA.
Right.
But they like what they're seeing so far. We have had an offer from one major company saying, we want to come on board, but we want to come on board to support what? Women's football. Great. Okay. No problem. Come on board. Let's define the project. What are you willing to finance? How much you're willing to put into it? Great, let's run. So there's some serious money floating out there that is saying we will help. But, you know, we have to be serious. We have to be professional.
Before I let you go as well, what's going to happen next year with the Pro League, Super League, and things?
Good question. This year, not next year, this year, 2020. This year, with 2020 vision, we are establishing a new league. Fact.
Right.
It is going to be established, right? We're going to meet within the next days with representatives of the Pro League, representatives of the Super League to discuss the way forward, because that league has to begin this year, and it will begin this year. I give that commitment to you and your public.
You already have anything before?
No, for me, I think I would have ended on that same thing, you know, just hoping that we don't have a lull as we did last year in football, or at least elite football, if we want to call it that way, and we could get back on stream and having a calendar of football for the year.
Absolutely.
Keith, any closing remarks? I'll give you a minute.
Well, vision is nice. Vision is good. But in the real world, you have to monetize your vision. Right. You have to get the money and the budget to materialize your vision. And that is a daily quest. We have people on board already. We have people coming on board who are providing money. But for, you know, the technical committee, we did a preliminary budget for all that we have to supervise is $25 million. 1 year, 2020, $25 million. So when that is the case, you might have to edit your vision here and there, but we're going forward. Speaking through your medium to the public, we have to recognize that we're coming from minus, which is my point at the very beginning, and that people and all of us have to understand the realities, and we have to exercise at least a little patience. It is not going to happen overnight. What we need to see, though, is progression. We need to see small steps, sometimes big steps, right? but moving in the general direction of the horizon, not regression, not going back to the old thing that is just in the immediate past. We're not going back there. If there's any temptation to go back there, you're going to hear Lucloy talking again. We're not going back there. We have to make the incremental steps, but we have to exercise patience. And I have every confidence that we're going to move it forward.
Keith, I want to thank you for being here, buddy. I am so proud of you and your association. And one thing, when you talk, you don't stutter. You say it as it is, and everybody who don't like it, but you tell it, and you don't care if people talk behind your back because you would say it in front of everybody. I appreciate that so much with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And congratulate the rest of the organization when you get back for me, and appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure every time. I love the show.
Narada, thank you for being here, bud.
Always a pleasure to you.
Viewers, thank you for tuning in. ACTN, thanks for giving us the opportunity. Viewers, check us out on Facebook. And also we have an email address, fieldofdreamspt@gmail.com. You can drop us a line. Show is ended. Go in peace. My name is Steve David.